Companies that use emotional intelligence are ones that you would have heard of, and these are major international companies, major international on various points of the globe. There was a really interesting study done with the US Air Force, and they had a recruiter project. The recruitment, 50% turned over each year. They lost 50% of their recruits. Now, for any organisation, that's major. You lose 50% of your recruits, you're losing a lot of people, especially when it costs $30,000 to replace each one who leaves. I don't know what it is in your business, but estimates are to be a minimum of $14,000 on up, is what the stats that I have seen and the figures that I've seen. So what did they do? Well, what they did is they went to see the star performers, and they said, well, let's have a look at our star performers. What is it about them? And they saw the successful recruits were strong in 5 skills: emotional self-awareness, assertiveness, empathy, problem solving, and happiness. They were strong in those 5 areas. Very similar to a study that was done, that I did back in the late 90s with SGIC, sales agents. And they wanted to know why a certain number of their sales agents were doing so well. And I said, well, let's test them. And we tested them on various things, including optimism and other personality scales. And these kind of factors fell out back then, as they did for the recruiters. So what they did is they said, right, so they screened the new recruiters for those 5 skills, and they trained the incumbents in those 5 skills, and the retention rate then went from 50 to 96%, and they saved $2.7 million. Is business interested? Yes, of course it is. So what exactly is EQ, and how has it been defined? What is it exactly, and how has it been defined? Very quick litmus test for you. I want you, for one brief moment, to think of one particular individual in your life. I want you to think about the characteristics of your worst boss. Now, if you've been one of those very blessed people on the university who've never had one, then I expect someone in the family has had one, or a friend has had one, or you've heard about one. If you've never talked to anybody at all on the planet who's ever had a really bad boss, then imagine one. And I want you to write down a few characteristics of this person, this worst boss. What would be some of the characteristics of a boss who you'd really consider was not particularly effective in the way that you might like? Okay, I just want you to turn to somebody very close to you and just share very quickly, 15 seconds each, some of those bullet points. So, what kind of phrases or terms come to mind for you? What have we got? Distrusting. Inflexible, fear of failure, unhappy, insensitive, disinterested, self-interested, status orientated, scary, moody, lazy, control freak, micromanagers, arrogant, dictator, authoritarian, bossy, and on it goes.